shut up, you listen to my monkey mouth. There's a companion when you got pun on the canoa route. Hopped in a portal and got in a fight, Elias knocked him out. Bow, Naruto fighting style. Bow, UFC he tapped out. Bow, we win, we get crowned. Monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth.
Them Portal Boys be podcasting. This is Joshua.
And this is Elias.
And it is good to be back, y'all. There was a big, long break, and then there was a holiday, but now your boys are back.
We're back. We're ready to talk about a really, really hilariously mindfucky episode, right?
Yeah, well, so the episode is called, do you have the name of the episode
yeah,
on
it's
hand?
a Full Meta
JackRick.
Yeah, Full Meta JackRick.
Yeah, which is an appropriate name because the entire episode is meta.
Just chock full of meta.
Yeah. So the premise of the entire episode is basically a fourth wall break.
Yeah.
Right. Typically, Rick just does little nods to the viewers, little nods here and there, but he maybe get that a little closer to you.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, because I turned the gain down just a little bit, but the whole premise of the episode is a fourth wall break.
Yeah, and so at the beginning of it, it's nothing but callbacks.
Well, the very start of the episode is confusing as hell because it starts going previously on. Usually that's like a thing that they do before they show you a preview of the next episode and stuff. So, you're thinking that you're watching, like, a preview or a review, or you don't quite realize that you're in the episode, bro. Like, I had to, whenever I was producing my little synopsis, I had to be like, the fuck? Stop. Stop. Are we in the episode right now? Like, are we, like...
And me previously watching it was like, it builds up to a meta narrative.
Yeah, and so I had to run it back, just to, like, start my synopsis from the appropriate spot.
Yeah.
And they're showing all these weird little callbacks, like they're investigating Jack the Ripper and all kinds of crazy shit.
And it's one's from the actual opening, right? So they're investigating Jack the Ripper, and Summer's pregnant, and then...
Oh, Jerry dies?
Jerry dies, but Jerry also looks over at Beth and says, "Oh, she's like you," which was really strange.
Well, so later, Beth has got a shaved head and she's getting executed for poisoning and killing Jerry.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah.
I love Jerry. I promise I didn't do it. And the whole time, Rick is just like...
knowing there's something fucky going on.
Really skeptical about it, and he forces Morty to marry him.
Yeah.
And
he says, say you love me and that you want to marry me, and then he says, and then say that from there you want to go to an ionized.
You want to spend your honeymoon in like an ionized cube or something.
Yeah.
Some type of scientific sounding shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
And at that point, they start going previously on, and then a narrator starts going previously on, and Rick's like, "You gotta stop."
And he's like telling Morty to clear his head, and Morty's like, "But previously on," and he's like, No, clear your head.
And it turns out that this is all happening because a sentient green mosquito guy rocking a Letterman jacket.
Yeah, I think it has like his like initials on each side.
Named Previous Leon.
Yeah.
Has gooed them up with metatoxins and is feeding off of them in some way.
It feeds off of their motive, or it feeds off of their narrative, I think is what they say.
I can't quite recall exactly what it is, but I know that he effectively drains you down to nothing, right? And Rick manages to snap him out of it. He's like, "We're back, bitch." And
he ends up beating the shit out of him, and then he's
about to kill him, and he starts praying.
Yeah, he pistol whips him, right? And then he goes through a meta field, and so like, oh, he learned how to portal, and he's like, oh, don't give him that much credit.
Yeah. He just receded back into the fourth wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't give him that much credit.
Don't give him that much credit. He just receded back into the fourth wall. So great, man.
And as they're walking through there, it's like, this isn't good. We're basting in meta radiation right now. Like, we will not be real much longer if we stay out here.
And so they put on these pink goggles, and it's basically showing every meta narrative in the garage in any way that they look.
Yeah, anything that could be considered meta, the glasses will identify them.
I know. I like how Morty starts to throw up and like reject the idea of that him being in a television show. He's like, "Oh my God, there's credits!" Like he now just barely notices the credits.
There are credits. Does that mean that we're in?
And he just starts throwing up. Yeah. He's like, "Let all the metatoxins out, Morty."
And so before they got, whenever they effectively circumvented whatever previously on was doing to them, they fell through the opening credits, right? And that's how Morty was aware of it, right? They were holding on to previously on, and
because that's right. He told him he had to go through the whole credits to beat previously on, right?
Yeah. They had to get back to like actually their
square one,
square one reality, and so they fall through the credits, and Morty has this like crazy realization. What audience? That's the energy I need.
That's
Morty.
the energy.
That's the energy I need.
That was so great. And then, so like you said, they follow him into the fourth wall. Like they break through the fourth wall.
And Morty still has his glasses on, and so once they pass through the fourth wall, everything is meta.
Yeah,
and so his glasses just start going crazy. And
he has to rip them off because it's like basically like going nuts.
It's going
like,
blinding him.
It's blinding him with meta humor.
And this is also kind of a callback to see the very first the pilot episode.
Yeah.
Where Morty fucked himself up by utilizing tech from Rick that Rick hadn't taken the time to fully explain.
Yeah.
Right? He didn't explain to Morty that you had to turn on the gravity shoes, and he fell and broke his fucking legs. He didn't tell Morty that you had to take the glasses off once you broke through the fourth wall, and it almost blinded him.
I like how he always makes it purpose intention to not give you. He gives you like 45, maybe 65% of what. Because like he already knows what's going on. He just kind of likes messing with you.
Well, I think he's just lazy.
Yeah.
I mean, like Morty said, it's something he's too lazy to explain.
Yeah.
That's when it gets.
I mean,
dangerous.
it even happened to Jerry, right? Where he's like, no time to explain. We're dissolving.
There was all the time. Hindsight's 2020.
He's like, there was so much time.
But so, it turns out that previous Leon is more or less working for Story-Lord and Jesus, who've teamed up together since they were since the whole story.
They were stuck in a toy train that was given to Rick by Morty at the Citadel. I might have the gifting incorrectly.
The bottom line is that Story-Lord is the bad guy from the Story Train episode, and they managed to get away from him by calling in Jesus, and now Jesus and Story-Lord have teamed up to fucking get Rick and Morty, and bro, Jesus kicks their fucking ass.
I know you love the Bane.
He's gonna Bane me. Don't Bane me. Not the Bane. Not the Bane.
Please, Jesus, don't Bane me.
He baned me, Morty. He baned me.
He literally breaks his back.
Well, that's an old school WWF move. They would call that a backbreaker. Back in the day. They would do that to people in the ring.
Well, so like on Batman, was it?
Oh, I know. Yeah, Bane did exactly that.
He did exactly that on the Nolan verse and in the comic books. You know, that was one of the big things where he.
That move was actually a thing he did in the comics as well.
Yeah, he did it. Like it's a pivotal like comic book scene.
The backbreaker scene.
Yeah, where you see like Bane literally like grabbing Batman from like the shoulder and the hip and like crushing him over his knee. Filled with Poison Ivy's toxin, you know?
Fucking gangster. Which on the subject of Poison Ivy, how stupid were we for thinking that she was a bad guy?
Oh yeah, right? So such a like what a perfect bad guy. Right?
Well, it's like, I'm here to save the plants from the corporations, and Batman's like, I'm a billionaire, I'm gonna beat your ass.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? It's like, what the fuck, Batman? I thought you were a good guy. What the fuck?
Batman's looking out for Wayne Corp interests at the end of the day.
He's lawful good, not moral good.
Yeah.
He follows the law.
Well, so like that whole... Oh, man, I'm going to jump off track for 2 seconds, but like the whole narrative of the Patriot Act is used on the Batman, what is it? Batman Rises.
Yeah. They do a pretty clear analog, a pretty clear metaphor with the spying on everybody through the cell phones with the
exactly,
sonar. I've been saying for years that they need to do. Have you seen The Town?
Yeah, I like that. I like your idea. Keep going with it.
So imagine, since you know the idea, I'll have to just say this and fuck, I need more ideas. Listen to people more. But a movie like The Town, right, where it's a movie about anti-heroes, right? Like bank robbers, someone who's like ripping off big corporations, stealing from the man, right? Guys who like we would bro down with, right?
Yeah.
But Batman's out here breaking drug dealer jobs.
Yeah.
And so if you're robbing from the banks, like you're on Batman's hit list, even if you're like guys who we like.
Yeah, even if at the end of the day you're Robin Hooding it doesn't matter.
Exactly. Batman would kill Robin Hood for sure.
Yeah.
And so exactly. We need a tale about a band of Robin Hoods.
Yeah.
And like it's a horror movie, right? And so the whole movie they're being hunted down by this black, like enigmatic figure, and like halfway through the movie they reveal it's fucking Batman. Like they've been just being hunted, being attacked, and killed by Batman the entire time.
There's a really funny comedian out there. His name's Pete Holmes, and he did some like really meta stuff with like X-Men, getting back onto like the meta theme. He did like some meta stuff with like X-Men, where like they call out Angel, and he's like, "So you got wings." I got a guy who has like a skeleton made out of metal. Like, what else you got here, buddy?
Yeah.
And then so like he did another one where it's like Batman. And, like, Batman, like, breaks a guy's neck. And he's talking to Commissioner Gordon. And he's like, I saved Gotham. He's like, you broke that guy's neck? I mean, he's like a middleman. Like, he didn't... And he goes, no, he's just sleeping. He's sleeping like Mama and Pop Pop. And he's like, Mama and Pop Pop died. And he's like, no, they went upstate to a farm. Yeah, they're fine.
They're just taking a
so, like,
nap.
Batman has, like an existential crisis because he's killing all these guys. And he's like... But they just told me that they were just sleeping. It's like, he's just really tired.
I didn't realize.
Pete Holmes is the best with, like, that super, like, taking the piss out of comic books, X-Men, Batman stuff.
I'll have to give him one more shout out. Who is it?
Pete Holmes.
Everybody give that fool a follow, because I'm unfamiliar. But at this point, after Jesus banes Rick, Story Lord just dips.
And Jesus is heartbroken.
Literally just leaves through the fourth wall.
Yeah, Jesus is heartbroken, and he's like,
he just left.
He's like, he just left me? And he's like, yeah, it kind of makes you want to team up with me and Morty to get back at him. And I think he hits him one more time. He, like, grabs him and, like, coconut conks them together and, like, dips.
And at this point, Story Lord...
Oh, no. Yeah. Story Lord actually kills Jesus through making him go back through his entire life as he sucks his life force out.
Well, so Story Lord doesn't do that.
I'm sorry, not Story Lord. That was
Previous Leon.
Previous Leon, yeah.
Previous Leon winds up like teaming up with Rick and Morty in this moment, right?
Yeah.
And he takes out Jesus, right? He gives Jesus this whole series of... I think Rick wound up explaining it as, while he's feasting on you, he convinces you that more of your life has already passed than has.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Because Jesus is like thinking of himself on his deathbed after he's found a way to give up his immortality. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's been gone through the full everything that a Jesus life could be. And
even becomes like almost like an Apple executive figure.
Exactly. But he definitely winds up withering away to basically nothing. Mm-hmm. And Story Lord confronts his creator,
which is Dan Harmon as an alien.
Yeah, exactly. Just the alien version of Dan Harmon, and he's just all unmotivated.
So, did you see... I didn't get to see the picture, but there's a picture of a guy at a football game, not a soccer game, and he's heating up a rib with a lighter, right? He's heating up an actual, like, rib, and someone thought that he was like lighting like a spliff or like lighting up a joint, but he's literally heating up a rib with a lighter.
That's a gangster.
And so on Rick and Morty, you have the Dan Harmon alien with a hot dog and a lighter on his knees.
This isn't what it looks like. This is a highly advanced diet.
Advanced writer's diet.
Yes, exactly. And it turns out, Story Lord is trying to get his creator to give him something powerful to motivate him.
And so his motivation becomes to have more motivation.
Yeah, define motivation. Oh,
Yeah.
You need motivation? That's your motivation now.
Yeah.
And so he doubles down on motivation being his motivation. And it cuts away to Rick and Morty, who are approaching a fortress. And again, at this point, previous Leon hasn't teamed up with them. They beat this fool's ass after he does that
again.
to Jesus. And they tie him up and they take him to this fortress and it's the fortress of the self-preferential six?
Self-referential, so like referring on itself.
Yeah, the self-referential six is fortress, and previous Leon spills the beans about Rick and Morty's plan to fucking get one of their prisoners out so that they can do something, and it shit just pops off, and they start introducing this series of the preferential six, which is mislead.
Mislead.
Right.
Oh, God.
That's great.
This was like I told you, like I literally had to watch it like 3 times to get through all of this like meta garbage.
Well, and it gets silly, right?
Yeah.
Like mislead, her whole thing, and Rick even refers to these people as way overpowered.
Yeah.
But so mislead, her whole thing is she'll mislead you.
Yeah.
Right? She's misleading. Misleads.
Mm-hmm.
Flash black can go into your memories and get whatever information.
Yeah, they have like a meta force field that keeps them from being able to harm them with any kind of their meta behavior. And then so he's like, well, I clearly remember whenever you created that meta force field. And then that's when you get introduced to misleading, or what is it?
No, so basically, Flash Black discovers that petroleum will undo the force field, and Connie Tenuity,
that's what it is.
Is the one who fucking makes the huge stack of petroleum behind them just appear. And she's like, was that not there before? It's a continuity error. So fucking stupid.
Oh, I would have loved if them like be wearing like different clothing on the continuity error.
Oh man, that'd have been great. But I mean, that might have gotten a little too heavy-handed. But this whole fucking episode is so silly. And then they have Protagonist.
Protagonist ends up turning the cowardly security guard into the whole story for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, Marvin the cowardly security guard gets the fuck out of there. He's
like, I did it again, wife. I think he just calls like just general wife.
Yeah.
I did it again, wife. Well, if you hadn't have done it, he wouldn't be, runs away from jobs, Nick or whatever,
Yeah.
And then they literally do like a panel where it's like his face cowering from a dog and an old lady. So stupid, man.
The next one they introduce is, so right now we've got we got Mislead, Flash Black, Connie Tenuity Error, Protagonist, and Mr. Twist. Marvin the Cowardly Security Guard isn't one of the
No,
six.
he just kind of
he's
got...
just a security guard who we digressed into because of Protagonist.
Yeah, Protagonist just turned him into a protagonist, so ended up going into his story.
Mr. Twist's whole thing is that he tries to convince whoever's attacking them that they're actually the 6th member of the 6.
Yeah, so
there's only 5, and the twist is that there's only... That's the twist. It's the self-referential 6, and the twist is that there's only 5, and that's revealed to you by Mr. Twist. And Mr. Twist hopefully can convince you to like try and be part of the team, and then they jump you whenever you turn your back or whatever. I guess I don't know. They didn't get that far. Rick and them were. Too good.
Rick was like, it's not that big of a deal. He says that to everybody because like there for a while, like Morty's like, oh wow, I'm part of the 6, and he's like no, that's just the twist. He says that to everybody.
It's like Mr. Nimbus trying to fuck you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's special. Which, man, the next episode, bro, man, I can't, man. God,
I can't even.
God damn it. We need to get through this episode so that we can talk about the next episode. Y'all need to tune into the next one for sure, because the next one's going to be great. But they wind up fighting their way to this holding cell for the prisoner.
Retcon.
Yep, Retcon.
But he was mad because Red is a name. He's like, they could have just called him Redcon because Red is a name, and he's like, he kind of agrees with it in a sense. He's like, yeah, Red is a name. And
we could have done this another way. But so Retcon is way OP. He can permanently change things outside of what you're currently experiencing.
Yeah.
Right. So, as Rick and Morty are like trying to escape out the back door, while Retcon and the self-referential 6 are fighting, Retcon stops for a second and goes, there's never been anything outside of this prison. Outside of this prison. And Rick opens the door and it's purgatory. It's like Prismo's time room, bro. There's nothing.
Literally nothing out there.
And then he turns the whole thing into an orange.
He says, "This prison has always been an orange."
And it sure enough turns into a fucking orange.
And then Morty comes out with the like, "You really did it this time," and he's like, "Psst, I'm not even gonna fight you this time. I royally screwed us. Like,
I'm not even gonna push back on that. Man. We're doing that."
And he like pours orange juice out of his lab coat.
The orange juice out of his lab coat, exactly.
So
at this point, they get saved. So they're just walking in like a field between some mountains, and it's just super cold. And you can see where like the wind has been hitting them, and the icicles are like
building on the back,
and it's like you could see where they're windswept icicles, and they basically give up. They lay down to die, and right in that moment, they're saved by Joseph Campbell.
And so I was explaining to you who Joseph Campbell is.
Because I have no idea who.
So Joseph Campbell essentially created. He didn't create. He kind of, I guess, essentially broke.
He articulated the architecture of the
hero's exactly. Story. He broke the fourth wall of what. Yeah. The architecture is for the hero's journey.
Any of us could go and write a good hero's journey if we followed the skeleton this gentleman created.
Yes. He was also one to I think at a certain point, he tells him to basically they can stay in the shed as Rick begins to help, or begins to create stuff.
Yeah, Rick has to basically create tech from nothing that's laying around. And
so then you end up finding that he's like, I think he's like pro-fascism, anti-communism, and he's like super drunk, and like Rick and Morty are cowering in the shed and being like, "Damn, I thought I was a bad drunk."
Yeah, well, I mean, even Joseph Campbell was like, "All right, you could stay here, but no matter what you do, don't leave the shed at night."
Yeah.
And they're like, "What?" And then it's because he's a raging maniac alcoholic. And even Rick's like, "Whoa, shit! I thought I was an alcoholic. God damn,
I ain't got nothing on."
God damn, Joseph Campbell.
And I don't know Joseph Campbell's like full story, but I mean, they pretty much like made him out to seem like a pretty horrendous human being. So
yeah, I mean, the way that he got the writer to stop writing, like he's a mean dude.
Yeah.
Joseph Campbell reveals that Rick's kryptonite is change, and basically dares him into doing it by calling him a pussy.
He's like, it ends up screwing him over too.
Well, I mean, we've seen what happens whenever you tell Rick that he can't.
Yeah.
Right? Rick goes fucking bananas. Like the episode where Morty keeps prestiging himself. That's because
he tells him that he doesn't want to mess with because doing time travel is like
beneath him.
So.
Yeah, if Ant-Man and Wasp can do it, then it's not anything that I need to concern myself with.
Yeah. So
shit.
He
I got you.
So essentially he tells Joseph Campbell is able to help them out by having Rick build a tech to get them to back through the metaverse, right? So basically to cut a time.
Yeah, basically Rick has to create tech from nothing that does what what's his name? Previous Leon does organically. Yeah. And so he winds up doing it, and so it takes Rick a long time to make the device.
And that's even kind of the comedy of it, right? Is like them going through the stages.
Rick is always having to make tech from nothing, right? Like he had to fix his portal gun with parts from the sex robots, right? He had to create modern regular technology in Magic World, right? Like they're always like kneecapping his ability to use his normal intellect.
And that really great horror themed episode where he was building it out of discarded garbage.
Exactly, right? He had to make literal trash tech.
Yeah.
He's had to make snake tech. He had to come up with snake math.
Yeah.
So they're always like they're always trying to kneecap him and get in the way of his intelligence, and he just finds a way around it.
Yeah.
And it takes him so long that Morty winds up growing a beard and becomes pregnant.
Yeah.
And it turns out that that's actually just like some bullshit that
previous Leon
put in their head, because effectively Rick and them had to let previous Leon do his metatoxin business on them so that he could change their perception of the past, so that they could do something different in the future. And previous Leon almost kills him.
Yeah.
Right? Previous Leon isn't he wasn't trustworthy, right? That was the whole thing.
Well, he was, but he wasn't. He made him think that he was untrustworthy, only to kind of be trustworthy in the end.
Yeah, it was
because he reveals himself as, oh, I just made you think that was going to happen, but now you have to go through the entire credits to come out the other end to be in the narrative that you want to be in with the box that he created to essentially, like you said, do what Leon does organically.
And so previous Leon is redeemed, right? And then after he's redeemed, they head back and they fall through the title slide.
Yeah.
Right. So previously they were tumbling through the entire intro, and then this time they slide real quick through the title slide.
Yeah.
And at this point, Story Lord is teamed up with his writer, and him and his writer have come up with this device where
it's a bunch of trains.
Yeah, it's a bunch of little trains in a column, and Story Lord standing at the top of it, and the writer's having to literally push it like an old grain mill.
Yeah.
And basically it siphons everyone everywhere's motivation.
So that he can have all the motivation.
Exactly. His whole motivation was to find motivation, and he's now found literally all the motivation.
Yeah.
And the dude's like,
Morty is so, like, Rick is pissed off about it through his natural frustration. But I honestly love that how frustrated Morty is with it, because he kind of considers himself a writer, like because of the whole Netflix thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think he kind of like considers himself a writer. So in his mind, motivation for motivation's sake is just so lazy. He just gets so frustrated.
Well, I mean, hell, Story Lord even refers to it as lazy.
Yeah.
And the alien equivalent of Dan Harmon goes, "It's brought us this far."
Yeah, exactly.
It's literally is that straightforward. Like, yeah, it's lazy, but hey, it's gotten us here.
It's gotten us to season 6.
Yeah, fuck it. Let's keep this energy going. Let's just keep the energy going.
How fucking meta is that?
And again, exactly. It's like a fourth wall break within the fourth wall break episode. Bro.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so fun.
It's trash. It's delicious trash. Yum, yum, yum.
Trash. Yum, yum, trash. I love to eat trash. I know what I'm talking about. But, so, Rick and Morty pop in to stop Story Lord, and they're in like cool get-ups.
Yeah, they're like got like some badass get-ups.
They went and got ready for a fight.
Yeah.
And then what's so funny is whenever Rick and Story Lord go to fight, they both just rip their shirts off. And Rick still has his abs.
He's like, he's still got his abs from the horror theme episode.
Yeah, he's like, so what, you're jacked? Rips his shirt off, he's got the abs in him, motherfucker.
And then he's like, he tells him, he goes, you're jacked too. And then he's like, oh, it's just awful.
It's just so awful. It's fucking great, dude. And so they have the big fight. And while the big fight is going on, Joseph Campbell's ghost tells Morty what to tell the writer to get him to quit.
Yeah, basically to tell Dan Harmon like that he's not a good writer.
Well, it basically is like, hey man, you want to be a good guy, but when you're writing,
you're trash.
You're the villain.
Yeah.
So if you want to be the good guy, stop writing. And that manages to stop. I mean, there's more to it. It's some heavy.
And he tells him
it's some heavy shit that this fool lays on him. Like,
and he tells him, he goes,
it's a lot to chew on.
He says something along the lines of like, but did you read what I had written? Or like he basically tells him, yeah, but did you get to read it? And he goes, listen, I got to page 6. Like,
yeah, I said I saw it. I didn't say I liked it.
Yeah.
And so,
the best part was whenever Rick gets on the forklift and essentially pierces Story Lord's chest.
I mean, he forks that guy right
into the wall.
He's got a million times the motivation of Rick. He can't be stopped.
And so
and Rick goes, so too do the guys at the cell phone kiosks in the mall. You're not special for having more motivation than me.
He literally pushes the forklift out of him and he heals up the 2 wounds in his chest, and he's like, can you do that? And he's like, I just did because I wanted it. I wanted it more. He said,
you gotta want it.
Yeah, you gotta want it. Yeah.
And then right about this time is whenever Morty gets the writer to stop pushing the machine.
Yeah.
And Story Lord loses all of his motivation.
But the funny thing was, is as they're showing the motivation gets sucked from everybody else, one's building those little shitty Rick dolls with the blue hair, with the dark blue hair instead of light blue hair. And the other one is doesn't want to do it. The other one does want to do it just so that he doesn't have to do guitar lessons.
He's like, I don't want to work anymore. He's like, I want to work, but just so that I can put off doing guitar.
Yeah, and then there's another guy who's getting close to signing up to to an adult website, but the fact that there's like a you have to sign up.
Just signing up was too much for him.
He's like, I don't want to sign up. And then as all the motivation comes back to their bodies, he's like, I guess I will sign. It doesn't change the fact that he wants to be a better person.
One of my favorites.
It's just like
one of my favorites of all the people being sapped of their motivation was the golfers.
Oh,
I was like, why don't we just write down any number? It's like, why even do that?
Why even do that? Yeah, that was great.
And so Rick beats the shit out of an unmotivated story lord and even refers to it as punching down.
He's like, this is punching down, but you've had this coming for so long.
You deserve this shit.
And then he tells him that he'll be a better... Oh, I know you love this part, because as they're in the middle of fighting, he's like, call me the new Mr. Nimbus. Because he wants to be Morty... He wants to be Rick's, like foe. He wants to be the Joker.
Well, he just wants to get Rick, right?
Yeah.
Like if he's gonna be a threat, then he's in that category, right?
So call me the new Mr. Nimbus.
With all that motivation, he was a threat, but too bad he lost all his motivation. And Campbell winds up telling the writer through Morty that he's the one who has to suffocate Storylord.
He doesn't though.
Storylord.
You never see him say it. That was just Rick being a prick.
Well, Morty says that. Yeah,
no, but he says it because Rick says it.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, because he tells him. Oh, he tells him he has to kill him. You're right.
Yeah. So
Rick's the one who says he has to deal with the doll. I'm sorry.
You're right. Rick's making him do the plush, but Morty tells him that Campbell said that you're the one who has to do it, and then the writer literally suffocates Storylord with one of these plushes.
Yeah, but that's whenever Rick kind of stops and he says, "Oh, but you have to do it with the plushie."
Yeah, and you can get it from rick-plushie.biz. Get it now.
Fucking always pushing that merch, you know.
We love merchandise. Don't think about it. And so the writer kills Storylord. Everything goes back to the way it should, and the writer goes back to his little office. And he's like, "All right, I'm not supposed to write. This pencil here. This is what writers use.
I'm a writer."
and he's like, "Oh, I got it. I'm gonna make a movie about a writer." And the whole time,
Joseph Campbell's having a fit.
No, but he's a ghost, right? Yeah. Only Morty can hear him. And the episode ends, and then there's the final little post scene with Tagman.
I have no idea what that was about, man. That's on you, brother. If you know what's going on in Dan Harmon's mind with Mr. Tagman, y'all guys post on the bottom of those comments.
Yeah, you guys let us know.
Over my head.
Yeah, I mean, he was just crushing people, bro. Like, and I like how it started off with like civilians.
Yeah.
Then it turned into cops. Then it turned into army men.
Yeah.
It's just like they kept stepping up.
It was like normal people, warriors to lawyers, lawyers to cops, cops to military, and then it was just like nobody left. But
bro, whenever the cops were running at him and he double fisted one of those cops and just turned them into pus, I'd have turned around. I'd have been like, I'm done.
You would have been the security guard.
I'd have been the fuck out of there. Yeah, I'd have been Pun, the fucking cowardly combatant.
But there was a really hilarious part. I'm going to say one of my favorite parts, since we like to do our favorite part. One of my favorite parts of this one was whenever it wasn't Joseph Campbell. Whenever Storylord comes in to get basically Dan Harmon's alien version of himself, and he goes, how do you, is this your office or your house? Why does it smell like you sleep here?
Yeah, man, that's good. So the two things that really stick out to me are whenever Storylord broke into the writer's place, and he was cooking that goddamn beanie weenie with a lighter. That shit was ridiculous. And then you know what I liked. Jesus baning Rick.
Yeah,
Jesus giving Rick a backbreaker was
the fact that Jesus said
that's tip tier comedy right there. In Pun's mind.
Jesus was when Morty was praying and told Jesus, "You can't hurt me. I'm a Christian child," and he goes, "Well, I'm the Jesus from."
I'm your worst nightmare. Yeah. I'm the Jesus from all the fucking shitty Jesus jokes.
Where there is no God. Oh my God, what a great episode, man.
Well, that's pretty much a wrap on the episode. I know we've got another episode to do, so we'll you guys just keep an eye out for the next episode. Appreciate everybody tuning in. It's been a while, right? It was like
It's been a
6-7
ride.
weeks since we did an episode, right? You know, they do these mid-season breaks, and you know, so we took a mid-season break, which I say that we were doing all kinds of other shit, doing all kinds of other podcasts, but you know, if the
Monkey Mouth is chugging along.
Yeah, if the only Monkey Mouth production that you keep up with is is the Portal Boys podcast, then to your mind, we definitely took a break.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate everybody coming back and hearing the dumbass shit we got to say. And I figured them Portal Boys been podcasting. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
All right, then, y'all. Appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll catch you guys in the next one.
Later in sales.
Peace.
Monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth.